I have to admit that I never thought of associating constellation and longevity. We are loyal, and through this loyalty, what do? We repeat. We repeat what our ancestors have done.
So I wanted to thank you for that, for guiding that process. I truly believe people need to know more about that.
And it's interesting that you say that, because since the day I discovered constellation, this has been my intention, my goal.
So for the public, basically, so Michelle was a guest at the Tony Robbins events that we've done in Abu Dhabi, and she was assisting, or she was basically doing a constellation. And I would love you maybe to define better constellation, but I'll explain my experience. So we were discussing about having the longevity, like how can I say that correctly? So basically to do the correlation between the constellation and the longevity aspect of it.
Yes. And actually, when you approach the subject with me a few days ago, and you told me that this is something that will be interesting to you, it opened up a whole Pandora box. Because I have to admit that I never thought of associating constellation and longevity. And yeah, of course, I'm an example of that because of my age, okay? And I'm in this modality for the past 15 years, which is a great, for me, it was a great turn in career. And it made me think of it. And it's amazing because I realize that, yes, when we kind of clarify um, so many things in our ancestry, when we clean up, it's like a great cleaning job that we do in our system, in the entire system. The and we regulate emotions and physical, mental, uh, all the things that really prevent us to remain healthy. When we let go of the block, the blocks that traumas and all the stuff that we carry from that is doesn't belong to us. Okay, and also the stuff that we carry from our life, because and it's linked.
Yes.
We live our life with the background of our ancestry. Okay, we talked about that before.
Yes.
We can go on that subject forever, because we are loyal, and through this loyalty, what do? We repeat. We repeat what our ancestors have done. And of course, there is a lot of assets in that, because look, we had great ancestors that were smart, that had talent, had skills. And when we inherit those is wonderful, and we certainly do. But what is unfortunate is that we also inherit the trauma,
The trauma, exactly.
the suffering, the
Unresolved
absolutely.
of their past generation also. I mean,
Sure, sure. I mean, it can go 7 generations. I was looking at not too long ago, a couple of days ago, I was thinking that, for example, when I think of my granddaughter, who is 16, okay, um, and I think of my great grandmother that passed when she was 71, but I was 13-year-old. It's 7 generations that I have known, including mine.
from, yeah, because it's on each
From my
side.
great grandmother, because at the time, people married younger, had children younger, so when I was born, my great grandmother and
Was
my mother
alive.
it was alive, and my
Wow.
grandmother was alive, and my mother, of course, was alive. And then I came, and then my daughter, and now my granddaughter. So it's seven generation of women
That touch
that I
you.
have seen,
Exact. Not just seeing that have touched you in a way,
lived with, touched it. Yes, yes. And I was practically, I mean, I lived 13 years knowing my great grandmother, and my granddaughter is 16. So it's really very, so I was thinking of that. And so I am impregnated of all this. And we talk in Constellation, we talk about seven generation being very impacting. Okay. So to go back to this line of thoughts, when you can clean up, and I'm saying that because actually I remember when I was 70 years old, okay, and I start having issue with mobility, and I was doing constellation already, but I decide to have another facilitator doing a constellation on me to see what was going on, okay? And this person, my friend Vicky, aligned seven women, and gave me a very heavy piece that she picked up from my living room because this is where it was happening. And she say, "You're going to give it back, okay?" Because in a way, and you were there in Abu Dhabi when I was insisting on this pain is not mine.
Yes.
Okay. And how powerful it is when we can affirm that this pain is not mine. So we give it back. And we give it back with love and respect. It's
Yes.
not something like, oh, this doesn't serve me, so I throw it
Like I
out.
give you my
No,
problem. No, it's not that.
no,
It's more
because
like
you know something? It has served us. It has served us in so many ways, along our life. Because it's interesting because we both speak French, me because I am, and you because you French Canadian. But we say in French, les gens heureux n'ont pas d'histoire. Happy people have no history. And in a way, it's kind of cynical, but it's
yeah.
true. Because you know what? All these things that we have in our past that is really painful and that we repeat, sometimes they have their value. It's lesson that we learn. It's lesson that our soul choose to learn. So go back at that story when I had this heavy statue in my hand and I was going back to my mother. My mother would take it without any kind of problem.
Resistance.
The person that was representing my mother.
Sure.
And then I went to my grandmother. No problem either. And once I got in front of that person that was representing, because as you know, we have representative of my great grandmother, wow, I had a download.
Oh wow.
And I
It
remember,
hit the right generation.
I remember that my great grandmother died when she was 73. And from the time she was 71 to 73, she was bedridden.
Really?
Okay. She was bedridden and
Wow.
she was heavy. She was a very strong woman. She was a businesswoman. She was a badass.
Taking a lot on her shoulder, I'm sure, and
Exactly. But what was she reminding me? Of me.
of course.
I'm strong. I'm a badass.
Yes. You're an
I'm business.
achiever.
I was in business all my life. And I say, oh my God, if I don't do anything, I'm going to die at 73 bedridden. Okay. And I was living in Miami at the time. And this was my decision. First, to lose a lot of weight, to go and swim every day, because of course it's easier in Miami.
Yes.
and here I am, almost 82, still alive, you see,
Yes.
and
Yes.
not bedridden. I mean,
No, and
very
very
difficult
alive.
to walk, but I kind of manage. So
Yes.
this is what I'm trying to convey here,
Yes.
is that you see, we gain from the knowledge, the awareness, because the knowledge is there, more or less conscious, but the awareness is important. Because when we become aware, then we can do something about. That is what constellation is all about. Is bringing to the surface what is it that prevent us to live our life 100%
Yes.
satisfactory.
So I'm curious because the way I saw constellation at the beginning, actually, I didn't know. I mean, and I'll explain a little bit my experience. I have so many questions about that, but I want to continue on that thought. So, my first understanding of the reason why we do constellation at the beginning was to resolve, I would say, like relationship issues with our past, our father or our past generation, the relationship. But now that we're speaking, and even like when I started the introduction to speak about the longevity aspect of it, I'm thinking like it's not just the relationship. Like, what if we have a good relationship, let's say with your parents, but they have some illness or they have some sickness or they're hurting, their back is hurting a lot. And maybe their parents had the same issue, but like I think that if you were seeing only like resolving the constellation, only resolve relationship issues, then probably these people that have an amazing relationship together will not do that process or will not be curious about it because they don't have any relationship problem. But let's say if the parent have some issues that they don't like, physical or illness issues, I think um, that's what I was curious to know. Like,
Yes.
can we
Everything,
we resolve that so we don't pass the, as you said, like the like, let's say for example if they have back shoulder pain and it's very hurting, how can we make sure it doesn't go through generation and it's stop. So
and it's very interesting because there is nothing that happened by chance. And you're using examples that are very important, and I'll tell you why. First of all, constellation has a value in the three most important domains in our life. What are those domains? Health, okay? Health is very important. Relationship. Every relationship with people, with things, because it can be a relationship with your parents, it can be relationship with money, it can be a relationship with country, it can be a relationship with business, okay, anything. So relationships is like a
okay, so relationship in your mind is not only human to human, it's like okay,
oh,
okay,
relationship with
it's
so many different
interaction with
things.
other.
Yes, very different aspect of your life. Parenting, I mean, it's amazing. And the third domain, of course, is career. Okay, so those are the three most important domains, but it kind of overlap in so many different things.
Absolutely.
Because, for example, okay, so here you are, you live in Canada. Someone came to Montreal or to
Yes.
some other part of Canada before you. You were born there. Maybe it's your parent generation. Maybe it's your grandparent generation. Whatever it is, they were not born there.
No.
They had to come from somewhere, you see?
Absolutely.
Because when you are from the Americas in general, unless you're a native,
You're coming from
you
Europe or somewhere.
so why did they come? What happened in their country that made them coming? what happened. Maybe it was a war, maybe it was discrimination. You see, it depends of your ethnicity, it depends of your tribe, it depends of so many different things that have an incredible um, aspect that made you where you are, you see, made you be where you are.
And that would influence the whole chain of the generation.
Absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. For example, when we look at South America, and it's very interesting because that is a study that I have done. Um, you see, South America, a lot of people came from Spain, Portugal, other people as well, okay? But I mean, other country as well, or Germany, or, and everything has to do with, as far as conquistadores and Inquisition, or World War One, or World War Two, where people went to South America to find refuge or to hide, because we all have history of victim and perpetrators. It's part of the polarity that we carry. We are
Okay.
made of polarities, okay? We good and bad, right and wrong, this and that. As long as we do not let go of judgment, we carry those polarity in a way that is very strong, okay? It's why constellation is a start, is not the end. I use constellation in my coaching because primarily what I am is a coach. Constellation is a modality that I
It's
use.
a tool basically that you
It's a
use.
tool, it's an incredibly beautiful tool. But
Yes.
it's a tool, you see. So when we understand what we can do with this tool, then we can live better and we can really, um, let go of all the idiosyncrasies that kind of keep us stuck,
Yes.
you see, because this is what it is that what happen in life and when we are unhappy is that we are stuck, and it's not our stories. I mean, Tony Robbins said it very well. He
Yeah.
said, the your story is the glue that keep you stuck. And the story can be known or
Or
unknown, unconsciously known,
yes. Yes.
because we know inside of us. But then when we have the revelation, we say, oh my God, I never thought about that. How many times did if I had a dollar for every time I heard, oh my God, I never thought about that.
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing, yeah.
I think the way that I see helping a lot, it's like, we when we were in Dubai and we're like having the whole seminar with the multiple days, the theme was the happiness. And I truly believe happiness is a key to longevity. The more you're happy, more you let go stuff, more you live light, easier it will be in your life to live longer, a healthy life.
Yeah,
So that's my belief, and I feel like we carry as child or spouse, so many friction with either our parents or our relationship that being resolved make us more happy, and by default we can live longer.
sure, sure,
Yeah, so that's,
yeah.
but I'm really curious about like the like physical pain, like if like do
And
you think.
cleansing, it's not just the health, it's also the cleansing. I
Yes.
just had an incredible experience, okay? And that I like to share because you see, when you are old, okay, older, consider myself an elderly for the public because in my heart I'm very young.
Yes.
Okay, in my head I'm very young. Body is not as young, but so you know, when you are my age, you lived a lot of lives. You know, they say that cat have 9 lives. I think I had, I don't know, maybe 18 life. Um, so, and it's interesting because yesterday I was actually celebrating 51 year of being in this country.
Oh
Because what
wow.
happened is that 51 year ago, I came to United States for vacation. Okay. And it was interesting because it was after a long relationship. Okay. My first important relationship, you know, first love, I mean, whatever you call it, you know. But will last 14 years. It's a long time. Okay.
Yes.
And with a lot of destruction in the relationship because you know when you're young you fight, you see that. I mean this is why we very often, I mean, I do so many constellations. I will say that it's rare that you find people that are together for a long time. You find more like 2 or 3 marriages or whatever. But what happened is that I came so 51 years ago, and it was an anniversary, and I met my husband by chance. I don't believe in chance, but it was my destiny. It was my destiny, I do believe, to be in this country and to have the life that I had had. Okay, my destiny to be born in France, and I do believe that nothing happens by chance. Okay, so it was interesting because, of course, it was also finally ending up this relationship that was destructive for both of us. And you know, stay in contact for a while, whatever. And after a while, I did not hear anything from this person that was very important in my life for a long time. And we remained friends, but you know, it's like it was still things that were carried. And very recently, about 3 weeks ago, all of a sudden, I thought he was dead because, you know, I made it
Of
to,
course.
no, he's 85, you know, I mean, I thought he was dead because he was not probably, you know, in social media or people
Yes.
changed place or whatever. And I think it's not the same of me. And interestingly enough, we got reconnected. And it gave us the occasion of speaking
Yes.
and to let go of some crap. And I say, this is fantastic because my youth is back again
Yes. Yes.
in my
Wow.
life.
Yes.
And you know what? I say, I found my youth again. And I'm sure that that has something to do also with that, with longevity. When
Absolutely.
you can make peace with things that happen in your own life, besides the ancestors. So it's why when you told me about longevity, I say, oh my God, this is amazing because this is true. Talking about somebody way in the 80s, we gain the longevity because when we speak, we're back there, not here.
Absolutely.
You
Yes.
see? So I think it's good. It's good to have the opportunity to find old friend when you can find them. I think who knew me when I was 17? Maybe there is 5 people left that are alive
Yes.
that knew me when I was 17, you see?
Yes. That's very special.
So that is amazing.
Yes, yes, I truly, I'm fascinating, for my experience, what happened. And the funny thing, maybe you don't know about that, Michelle, but before you go on stage, we had a pause, a break. And I don't know why. It was the birthday of my grandmother, in 5 days, 5 days earlier, and I didn't, I was traveling to Dubai, and I didn't call her to wish her happy birthday, So I felt that, I felt like, okay, I have to call her. And I remember the last time I spoke to my father, I basically he was with her because she was having some issues. And anyway, and my father and I, we had a 10 years business, we had a bankruptcy, we had a lot of trauma or things, and then for 5 years we were not talking a lot, and the relationship was just like there's no more, so anyway, so it was tough for me. So but I don't know, so I call my father instead of my grandmother. I don't know why. So I call my father and I ask him, actually in FaceTime from Dubai. I never do that. Like I just didn't know what to talk to him, So, but I call him and I say, "Hey, father, hi, hope you're doing good. Are you with grandmother? I would like to wish her a happy birthday." And he's like, "No, I'm not with, you know." So and I kind of lost track, and I was like, father, it's like I don't know why, but I just wanted to talk to you, I just needed like that, and so we start talking, but it was not super flowing correctly, And I was like, I love you, and he was not able to reply to me. Like there's a blockage, and like for 4 or 5 times, I told him, and at the end of the conversation, I was like, Father, when I say I love you, it's like I love you. It's not just like I'm saying something. No, it's true. It's coming from my heart. And he told me, Jonathan, we'll talk about it when you're back. We have a lot of things to discuss. And then I was like, okay, perfect. And we closed the phone. But
And
I was,
I'd like to say something for people that are hearing this podcast, because you're right. When you insisted on the "I love you," in United States, and I'm sure in Canada is the same. When you say "love you," you can say "love you" to the mailman,
yeah,
that is coming
yeah.
and you see every day. It's not very.
It's like
But
a
if you
transition or
say
like,
"je
mhm,
t'aime,"
mhm,
it's strong. It's
yeah,
not, you know, you don't end the conversation with a friend. You say, "Je t'aime." I mean, not even to your children. It's not
mhm,
something easy to
yeah,
say.
yeah.
I love you is easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
And
totally
but
understand.
and what I realized, and you know what? Every time he was not, it was blocking, like he was not telling me too, or he was not, I didn't feel hurt. And it's very funny because for the past 5 years, I was craving his love. I was craving like the attention. I was like, it's my father. I love him from the deep of my heart. But it's just like there's something that just happened, and like we never resolve it and talk together. So, but it's the first time within 5 years that when I finish the conversation, I don't know if it's because I was in a spiritual mood or I was this, I don't know, but I was not craving his love. Like I knew he loved me. Like it's like, it's like, okay, he's got something's going on in his life. He's, having a lot of his emotion, but I know he loved me. I know it. I don't need it anymore for him to reply. So just that moment, I felt release. Release to all the love is within me now. I don't need you to tell me I know you love me. So just that was so powerful. Then I went on into the room and they announced that some woman, Michelle will
Blechner,
be
Blechner.
Blechner will go on stage, and she's a specialist in family constellation. I didn't even know what was family constellation, honestly.
Not the only one.
And you ask, you explain and everything, and then you ask if somebody want to go on stage, and I raised my hand, but like a little bit quietly, and you pick somebody else, and you did your consultation, and it was beautiful. So the first thing, it was more like a one-on-one discussion that you've done, and even that I didn't know what was. I thought that was the constellation, your discussion. And then you said, okay, let's have a second person, and I was determined. I was like, I need to go, and you picked me, and then wow.
Among a few hundred people.
Yeah, 400 people. But it's just like the flow of event. I spoke to my father. I didn't even know the next speaker like you would talk about family stuff, you know. I didn't know about that. So it's just like the flow of life was just like flowing perfectly. And I did an hour on stage, and you know, the constellation basically I was there, and she invited people to play role as my mother, my father. So people that either raised their hand or just like walked to the stage, played the role of my mother, my father, my grandfather. Then, you know, we were like five, six, seven people on stage. And then you started, I don't really remember, but you started guiding conversation. So I was like speaking with my father, which is, it was not my real father, but someone that was playing that role. But it's the way we discuss, it's like if he was my father.
Yes. This is due to a phenomenal, okay? Because nothing is rational in constellation. It's
Hmm.
phenomenological, okay?
Yeah.
And the thing is that when you get into the
Hmm.
which is morphogenetic field, okay?
Hmm. Hmm.
Automatically you represent the person. It's not playing, you see, it's
Okay.
not an acting.
No,
The
no.
feeling comes to you as if you were that person, you see.
Hmm.
There is a connection that is operating over, the universe create that. I mean, it's an amazing, but it's the way it is. It's magic.
It is magic. Like the person was playing the role of my mother, she was smiling, she was like, even the hair was curly. But when I was speaking to my father, really firm, you know, like it's like it was very special. And then when everything finished, and we can, you know, we can talk for hours on that, but it was truly like you transformed the, I mean, we transformed the relationship with my father forever, you know, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
But when the stage was finished, and then I spoke to the person that was my grandfather, like he was like always like crisp like that. And I spoke to him, and he said, I was like, what's your feeling, how do you feel? And he said like, I feel guilt and shame. And that was like, my grandfather did stuff that was not nice, you know. And but for me to see him, like, he's not my grandfather, how does he feel, how does he know, like, why he told me guilt and shame? Because he felt it.
Yeah.
And it's just like the beauty of the universe, like the magic of the constellation.
Yes,
And
and when you think
so,
about geography, from wherever your grandfather is, he still alive?
no,
No.
he's not there.
So back in, Nono land to Abu Dhabi, it's like it's amazing. Yes.
Yes, yes. So I wanted to thank you for that, for guiding that process. And I truly, like, I truly believe people need to know more about that. And yeah, it's so
So,
important.
and it's interesting that you say that because since the day I discovered constellation, this has been my intention, my
Mm,
goal. And as I told you before, this is who I am. I'm a coach. So this is my way of guiding people into really know about meditation, getting to yourself, create the connection, appreciating everything because it's very important to appreciate. You give more value and then set up your intention in choosing because we are creators. We have the ability to create. You see,
absolutely.
nobody's creating for us. We are powerful. And my intentions from day one was to spread the word. Okay. And I've done my share since that day because I was you know, blessed enough to live in one of the three most international city in the world because it's Miami with Dubai and Singapore. Those are the three most international city. And so I had people from all over the world. I count in my own living room in Miami, I had like 70 different countries represented.
Wow.
and over the years. And I study a lot. I continue to study all the time because I learn things every day. And at the time, I was very passionate when I found out that it was also constellation for business. You see, organizational, systemic approach, for business. And I went to the Netherlands for an entire year, 4 times, to learn more about business constellation. And then create an organization called Mosaic, Miami Organizational Systemic Approach for an International Community, the movement. And I had teachers from all over the world that came to Miami for a while, periodically, and until 2020.
Okay.
2020, the last one came in January, and then February, COVID. So, and that is funny because you were talking about grandmother not being able to. I say, I gotta go online. I was one of the first people to use Zoom, where we continue to have the other teacher that were supposed to be in the program. And we did it immediately. I mean, we started in March of 2020.
Yes. So that was quick.
Yeah, yeah, and it saved the day because so I did that, and ultimately I moved back to New York because I was away from my family, my daughter, my grandchildren. So I stayed like 9 months without seeing anybody. First opportunity, I came to New York because we could not even fly.
No, I know.
Have a friend with a private plane to be able to fly here, and I decided to move back to New York because I could not stay away at my age if something happened or whatever. We're talking about 5 years ago. I was already, there. And what I like to say is that because of that, because of this variety of aspect that constellation offer, you can really do amazing, amazing result because you can look at societies, you can look at politics, you can look at cultures, you can do so many different things where you have the opportunity to find answers. I remember actually at the time to look at the what is the value of COVID. We did a constellation on it. You can constellate anything.
So constellation, when we say the word constellation, does it mean that we involve other people or it's
Yes, yeah, I'm
really
gonna tell
defined
you
so it's
why
clear?
is it constellation. First of all, the father of that modality, his name was Bertelinger. He passed away, and I was privileged to work with him twice. First, I worked with him for a week in Spain, and actually, we even made a movie at the time. This movie maybe one day would come out on the shelf, but it's still on the shelf. And then I worked with him in Mexico as well
Okay.
for another week.
And that was how many years ago, by
That
curiosity?
was, I think, the last time I worked with him was in 2017 in
Okay, so it's
Mexico, and he passed away since. Um, and what I like to say is that when I saw him, I always saw him in the international way because this is what I was talking about, the international desire for me to be spreading constellation too.
yes.
And interestingly enough, I never thought about it. Who was going to be the vehicle to doing that in an international way? But I got invited by Tony and Sage in Mexico almost 3 years ago.
Ah, okay. That's your
This
first.
was my first
Mm,
happiness thing, okay?
mm,
And this was very interesting because actually the last Thanksgiving, the person that I constellate for the first time with Tony put something on Facebook saying this is a story I never told. And she
mm,
told the entire story, so it's public, And it was funny because the same way I picked her out of a very many people,
mhm,
and she could not believe because what I always say in constellation to explain is that there is some kind of pact of silence in systems.
mm,
There is things that we don't talk about.
mm, mhm,
And contrarily, as the saying that say, what we don't know don't hurt.
mm.
What we don't know hurts a lot.
A lot, of course.
Okay? So what's happening is that why don't we talk? Sometimes it's too painful.
Hmm.
We don't want to talk about tragedies that happen to a great grandmother, or whatever it is,
Hmm.
because automatically she feels bad about. We don't talk about because somebody went to jail, so did
Yeah,
something that was
guilt or shame or. Hmm.
shame, shame, or we don't invite, and this is what I say that night. I say, we don't invite Uncle Jim because he's drunk and he
Hmm.
always end up under the table, so we don't invite him for Thanksgiving.
But we don't tell him. Like we don't tell him the deep reason why. Because
Exactly.
yeah.
So that young lady and at the end, then I say, so let's do a constellation. And I want to tell you something. Before we started, I say, how many people know about constellation? 12 people raised their hand out of 400 people.
Yes.
I say, how many people have done constellation? Six people.
Okay.
Six people had done constellation. Wait, I found out later because they came to talk to me that three of them out of the six had done it with me
Okay.
in my living room in Miami. Okay.
Okay. Wow.
But the thing is that I said, now we would like to try. And
Hmm.
few people raised their hand. Among them, this young lady
Hmm.
that stood up and starts crying and said, I cannot believe it. I have an Uncle Jim. His name is Jim.
Mm.
And it was so incredible because we did a constellation and she told the whole story like recently,
Okay.
on
Wow.
Facebook. She was telling the story and she said, and you know what? She was the same Uncle Jim that when she was 18, she
Mm.
had to scrub the blood,
Uh,
okay, because he got murdered. And
oh.
then he was an alcoholic and she drank. And what happened is that she was sober now for many years. And it was beautiful because it was really so coming home.
Yes.
So that has been really an amazing phenomenon because when you say it will, it should be more open
Hmm.
to the public and everything else.
Yes.
I have to be so grateful to
Hmm.
Tony and Sage for having been catalytic for that.
Yes.
And the beauty of it, okay, is that not only because of them, more people know about, but more men.
Hmm.
Because what happened is that when you do constellations as a facilitator, and no one will contradict me, even men facilitators, the majority of the audience is women.
Hmm.
I can say without a doubt was that I certainly the facilitator in the world that I've worked and is working with more men. And
Mm-hmm.
that is because of Tony and Sage.
Yeah.
Because what's happening is that under the seal of approval of Tony and Sage,
Mm-hmm.
people, okay, so they, whoever they introduce, they go and listen
Yes.
to.
They kind of believe more, or they.
And
Mhm.
what's happening is that they see this, fragile old lady coming to Sage and say, "Oh, what she's going to talk about?" I mean, usually they bring me in a wheelchair because it's easier and everything else. And and you know what? They get ambushed.
Mm-hmm.
They get ambushed because they would not come to me if I did not have the validation of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because you have no idea how many come to me and say, "What did you do to me?
Yes, yes.
What did you do to me?" But I'm going to tell you something that I realized very recently. The majority of men that I work with, they are between 25 and 60-year old.
Okay.
So I work with
That's a big range.
a big range, but a lot of young men.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I had a message because, I'm always a kind of, channel, about channeling, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Very
Mm-hmm.
connected and sat for many years. I had some incredible psychic experience. But what happened is that when I was a child, when I was an infant, actually, in France during World War II, because I was born in 43, my father, that was only 24, was
Mm-hmm.
taken to concentration camp.
Oh, okay.
And not just concentration camp, death camp to Auschwitz, because we were Jewish, okay? And my mother had to hide with me as a baby. She had a lot of tragedy because
Mm-hmm.
mothers that was not Jewish, house was bombed, her sister died in a
Yeah,
bombing. I mean,
terrible
it's a,
environment.
it's a lot of tragedy in my family, and that happened at the time. The war was very tough. Our father, that was Russian and Jewish, was in another camp. I mean, it was a. My father came back, but he never recovered.
Mm.
Okay, he never really recovered, and I realized he came back. He was 25, and he died. He was 60.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that actually I'm working
With the same.
with the same category of men from 25 to 60.
Mm. Yeah.
In a way, healing
Mm-hmm.
my broken father.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Through us.
Yeah.
And it's working.
Yeah.
And it's working. I mean, it's so beautiful. I mean, it's such a gift that I would say that you have and you're giving to everyone. I mean, having the experience was something, but then after, a lot of people came to me after this experience and they told me how it was impacted their life. So it didn't just impact my life, Michelle. It really impacted
Yeah.
the majority of the people because they can
Because
relate. You know.
I'm going to tell you something, Jonathan. When you are picked in a constellation as what we call the client, you are of service. You're not picked by chance because it's something in you that choose to be of service. The people that we present, they are also of service because they hear and they're channeling. But the people that are around, they also of service because they are the observer. And I really do believe strongly in linguistic, okay? Because at the beginning it was the sound, you see, which is a vibrational
Yes.
frequency. And this is what we are. We live in a vibrational frequency.
Yes.
And it has to match. You
Yes.
see, we are going from a dimension to another one right now. Okay, I'm sure that you're aware of that, and we are deeply into that. So it's important to feel our vibrational frequency, and in a setting like constellation, and this is why I love Tony and Sage setting because it has so much power. It's very
Yes.
strong. I mean, for their work in
Mm-hmm.
general, but for Constellation in particular, it's very, very strong, you see.
Yeah, the energy in the room and like the everything. Everyone is like, yeah.
It's an energetic field that
Yes.
is incredibly powerful. So I feel privileged and so blessed to have the possibility of doing that in this kind of setting. And that is giving me also the possibility of doing more. I'm doing something, an event in New York next week, okay?
Okay. Cool.
That is public as well. I don't think there will be the number of people of Tony because Tony is really special. But what is also wonderful for me is that some people, and I can think of two in particular, that were at Happiness in Mexico when I did this first appearance with Tony. They now facilitate Constellation.
Oh wow.
They came to me and they trained. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was this young man, Daniel, okay, he's German, and it was beautiful because he said publicly he was suicidal. And he was telling me, I mean, he was 29 when I met him, and he called me Mamish, like my grandchildren, and and it was beautiful because it gave me also an open door because he is German. In his ancestors, he had people that were linked with Nazism. Um,
And you
said,
had.
and I healed him. And you have no idea how many people now, young men and women, that had grandparents or great grandparents that felt this unconscious guilt, okay, which I was blessed to let to really help them go of it. Okay. And that is beautiful because you go beyond judgment, you go beyond any
Yeah.
kind of antagonistic,
Yes.
ancestral history. It's amazing.
No, it's Michelle, it's unbelievable. Like it's like we've done the constellation, then like I was actually when I finished, I was confused. I was like, what do I do with that? It's like okay, I feel release. Me, I feel release, but my father, like we have has been 5 years. We with the relationship like since the bankruptcy, just like get smashed, and we never talk about that. It was tough. So, but me, I was ready, I was like, I felt just before to go on stage for my conversation, I felt like, okay, I accept everything. I'm okay. I'm ready. I'm open. But is he open? I don't know. But with the constellation, I didn't know. Should I talk to him? Should so, but I didn't do anything. Then, a couple of weeks after, maybe 1 month after, I was working out here in my gym and I just stood up. I took my phone. I said, Father, would you like to come to Date of Destiny? It's in 4 days. I have one more ticket. You're my guest. If you want to come, let me know. And he called me back 2 minutes after and he said, Jonathan, I broke up with my wife. I have this situation also. I have nothing to lose. I'm coming. I'm like, okay. And we did Date of Destiny, which is a 6-day event, a very powerful event with Tony Robbins every December. And it's just like every day I saw the transformation in him and in us. And we did the Ho'oponopono exercise together, and it just like melt everything. But everything got from the constellation. It's like the energy just has open doors, so we can be receptive. And during the event, we spoke every morning, and after 6 days, we took the airport together, and I had my father back. I truly had my father back. Like the relationship that I lost for 5 years, like in one constellation exercise, I found my father. And I feel that I will have a deeper relationship with him. And that will impact my health, that will impact my life, his life. And now it's very funny because my grandmother, she's older, she's 88, and he's back with her to help her. And, so he's in the same house than my grandmother right now, living with her. And she's got her trauma, so he's faced with that every day. And I don't know, I kind of feel like everything will probably go back to my grandmother, like the energy, the positive. If we're resolving family, we're putting order in the family in our generations.
And my question to you is, first, do you have siblings?
I have a step brother. So from my mother, only I have a brother.
No, so it's not a step, it's a half.
Half. Yes. I call him my brother, but it's not from my two
Yeah, yeah,
parents.
yeah. No, but it's not step, it's
It's
half.
half.
So it's
Exactly.
no blood, okay? You got,
Yes.
yeah. Do you have children?
Absolutely. I have a 5 years old daughter.
Okay. That experience that you had impacted them, okay?
But Michelle,
That
yes.
cleans their vibrational frequency about that. You see? Because you were talking about repetition, and at the beginning of our, um, you know, uh, visit here, you even talk about pain in the shoulder. I'm going to tell you something. My grandson is a hockey player. He's 18, okay? And hockey is very important for him. So important that he should go to college this year. He's going to postpone
To go.
because then he can whatever it is the way it goes with hockey player
And
with
to train and
and he just dislocated his shoulders. His father was a hockey player who dislocated his shoulder at the same age. Now the thing is, I say to him, because he's going to an MRI to know if he has to go to first for surgery or not, which his father had. And I say, I like you to come because I like to do a constellation on you, that you don't have to go to surgery.
okay.
Because this is what it's all about. Repetition happens, but the resolution of the repetition can be different. And sometimes we can even avoid the repetition, you see? So it's why it's so important, because your daughter and your sibling can benefit your work on yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. It's so. I mean, I have two things. Like one burning question, but I will wait for my burning question. So funny enough, like 3 weeks ago, my wife, she told me, Jonathan, it's funny. Like since Dubai, the relationship with our daughter is more fluid. It's more like harmony. There's more harmony. And what happened in Dubai is that, like you ask everybody to go on the stage, and at the end you ask who want to play the role of the daughter. And I remember Cloud, she was wearing like a pink shirt. It was beautiful. Like she came, like she looked like a kid, but she's an adult and she's very tall. Like so, and she came, and I don't remember if she was on my side or on my wife's side, but you said please go in front. But they had confusion on the stage. Like she didn't know where to go. And then you really, I think you raise your voice. That's what, and you said, no, please go in front, like take your place, like you're the constellation. You know, it's like the tree.
Yeah.
So she needed to be in front, and she went there, and it was weird, like the confusion. I don't know, like I felt like, okay, what's going on? Like, I mean, it's obvious, like you go there, but it was not so obvious for her. But then she did it, and then we fast track, and and now my wife tell me like, okay, like now it's more, there's more harmony, and I feel it very well. So I don't know if we replace something in the, you know.
Yes.
So what happened?
Yeah, 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 yeah. You reposition because in a way, when your child is next to you, it's not healthy. Your child is not your partner. Your child is not your friend. Your child is you have to be protecting your child. So this is the way it goes in constellation, is that the children are first because they face the future. The parents are behind, and there's a position. And when you visualize it, it really helps to set the system, you see, because that is a system that will always be there for eternity and will be the base of the system that will follow. It's your child, your daughter,
Yes.
and behind her on her left is your mother, and behind her on your right is you. And then you have your parents in the same position, and then your grandparents. And you know what? When you count seven generation, you have 254 people behind you. You see?
Yeah.
And you feel the protection, you feel the support, you feel it.
Yes. So you
And
see,
that,
like,
yeah,
yeah, the
uh-huh.
support. You know, it's not. So it's not just. It's not 95% is positive. You know, but we just, like you say, the support, not the trauma, the support, the positive support.
Yes,
We're guided. You know, in life, like even we think we're alone. We're not alone. We're carrying the help of our generations, the power of it.
and I have to say something very important, okay? Is that people that are behind us, especially if they are dead already, our ancestors, think about it. They overstaffed and underwork, okay? They have nothing to do. They're there to support, but they're not assertive. It's not their role to be assertive. You
So
have
what assertive mean? Just so I understand the word.
assertive, it means that they're not going to do it um, spontaneously. You have to ask, you see? So you ask for their support, you ask for their protection. And it's why, and it's interesting because I always recommend a book that was written by one of my teachers, a very, very good book on constellation. The title is It Did Not Start With You.
It didn't. It did not start with you.
It did not start with you. And the name of the author is Mark Wolynn, Wollynn. I was privileged to train. I work with a lot of people, but I was privileged to train with a very good team. It was Mark Wolynn and Susie Tucker. Those are my two teachers and trainers for Constellation. And I'm very grateful to both of them. And because of this mixed energy of very strong male energy and very light female energy, which is really very compatible with me because I have both. I'm very
Okay, I understand.
balanced in that type of energy view. And what happened is that this title, it did not start with you. In Spanish, it's translated by Este dolor no es mío. I don't know if you understand Spanish, which means this pain is not mine. And interestingly enough, I work with a lot of Spanish people, Spanish speaking people. But 3, 4 months ago, I was going to France, sometimes in August. And I reach out to Mark Woolen and I say, what is the title of your book in French? Because I'm pushed to work in.
Go to France.
It's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. I am pushed. It's like La France m'interpelle. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very, called by France lately. And France is not a country where constellation is very well known.
Okay.
So he
Et
said to me, the title in French is Cette douleur n'est pas la
n'est pas la tienne, n'est pas la mienne. Cette douleur n'est pas la mienne.
mienne. And when I heard that, it had an impact on me.
It resonate. Mm-hmm.
It resonated more because it's my mother tongue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it really, then I tasted on people. And it was very, very powerful to say, because I used to say, please bless me to my
Mm-hmm.
ancestors. Please bless me that will, do it differently. It is an expression that is very well used in constellation. But now I have shifted.
The pain is not yours. Oh no, the pain is not mine. Mm-hmm.
And we facilitated work differently in Constellation. And it's very good because we have the permission, in a way, of
Mm-hmm.
the founder that
Mm-hmm.
said many flowers will bloom.
Hmm.
I
I
work
love it.
differently than a lot of my colleagues. A lot of people do shamanic work. I'm not very shamanic. I'm very pragmatic. I'm
Mm-hmm.
Taurus. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the la 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 with feather and things like that. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very, but everything has its value. And my work now, in a way, has shifted a little bit because I always make people say, this pain is not mine, in their language.
Yeah, that's what you did with me, also. And I felt it because I was trying to understand the words, but when you started to speak in French, boom,
Yeah,
like now it's like I was like 100%
yeah.
understanding
And
and
if you,
channel.
if you recall, I made everybody say it in their language. And when I asked for Italian, it was Matteo,
Matteo 1%.
the one. And I
Yeah.
said, come in, I brought him to the stage because I felt, like he was like the baby among, he had
Yeah.
to be, it was very powerful because of that. But
But when you did it in German,
yeah,
that's something that happened that really touched me. And like, it was like the woman, like you asked for the German people to raise up, maybe 16 people. And there's a woman at the front stage. She was troubled. She was not able to say it.
yeah,
But she was like speaking the language. Like me, if you ask me to say something in French, I know the words. I'm able to say it. But in German, she's German. She was not able to say the words.
yeah,
And I was in the front also. And then when I look back, Michelle, it was perfect. Like the woman, and then all the people, they were aligned in a perfect line. And it was for the fourth person started to cry, and like he was like holding the mic like this, and then like she was able to speak it.
yeah.
It's like if the energy was like and was blocking to him, you know. it's
Yeah, it's beautiful.
it's
And the thing is that because that has a consequence, because if this pain is not mine, it means that I took it from somewhere, someone. And if I took it, I have to give it back. And you see, because if you borrow money, you got to give it back. So if you borrow a pain, you got to give it back. It's different than, please take it from me. No, I got to give it back. Okay. And I give it back with love and respect for what it has served me. You see? And when you start talking in this way, it's beautiful because it kind of cleanses the system, you see?
but how do you know who you give it back to? Your mother, to your father, or
You
it's
give it back
like
behind.
okay, okay, I understand.
You give it back to whoever it starts with. Because it might have started with someone that you have no idea who he was, where he lived, or she lived. You don't know.
You're right. Absolutely, I understand.
You don't know who started
Because I think
because
about
they
my
might have carried.
I think
It's
about my father and my mother, but it's way beyond
way
that.
behind.
Way
And
beyond.
who knows what they carry. And sometimes you carry something that was not carried by your parents, but maybe was carried by their
Yes.
grandparents, you
Yes.
see? And you, the little one, you
Yes.
take it on.
Everything.
Yeah. So like I
So how
say,
do you stop? How
see,
do you? So what happened that stopped it? It's just because I let it go. I give it like spiritually. Like, do you? Okay, and do you think it's the soul that is going into the person to play the role to give him the words, the emotion, and everything?
yeah. You see, what we say in constellation, because your soul choose the parents, okay? Choose the parents for the experience that the soul knows that it will have, okay? And the thing is that the parents have to give life. That's it. It stops there, really, you see? Because some people complain about my parents, they did that. It gave life. Be grateful for that. The rest you have to take, because in a way you chose them to give you life. So whatever experience you had with your parents is your soul requirement, is what your soul wanted you to live, to learn. You see, remember, remember the what Tony called the six human needs. I call
Yeah.
them attributes because I prefer not to use the word needs. You see, again, I go back to my love of linguistic. I'm very specific about the words that I use, and I ask people to learn how to use. Need for me come from a place of lack. So this is a word that I prefer not to use, and I teach not to use. Choice is a better word, you see. When you choose, you take action. You put yourself on the line. You take responsibility. You have
Yes.
the ability to respond, you see. So,
Absolutely.
but to go back to the human experience, the growth is very important. And for growth, you have to go into the unknown. You got to go into uncertainty. You see, when people choose to grow, but they put uncertainty at the end of the list, can't work.
No.
You see,
No.
you
No.
cannot stay in safety. So your parents, they provide the safety that you really require in giving you life. But then you have to make choices, to take chances, and to create the changes that you like to see, that your soul has come for. Because if
Why?
you don't, you don't have to come to this earth.
No. And why do you think some people are scared to do constellation, or that they would avoid it, or even
Oh,
if they
there's
knew about it?
resistance. But what I like to say, because I look at things with a more open mind, is that resistance is the mother of flexibility.
Please.
It's not easy birth, okay? It's birth with forceps or something like that, or what you call it.
Like
It's not a natural birth. Is
cesarean, when they cut you and they remove you, or
Yeah,
no?
yeah, yeah. I'm looking for the term of what is it when they oh my God, I cannot think of it. Okay, it'll come back, but it's not natural birth. But yet, the more you resist, the bigger. would be the experience of the revelation and
Mm,
of the flexibility that it gives you. Because when you learn it, then you cannot unlearn it.
mm. I understand.
See? This is the way I see it, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Because uh, the you cannot forget a powerful lesson. You see?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And more you resist,
The more you
or
resist,
or probably it's gonna affect you because you resist. You feel there's something that needs to be. You're attracted, but you know that it's something big that needs to
when
melt.
you let it go, okay? I find the word cesarean section,
Cesarean, yes, exactly.
okay? But this is what it is. L'accouchement est difficile. That,
Yes,
okay? Giving birth is tough, but once it's done, you cannot forget.
absolutely. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so impactful.
yeah.
So the burning question I had before was like, okay, so if me I had ski accident, okay, I had I don't
Shoulder
a
issue.
bone, yes, and then my meniscus was there, so and skiing is my sport, and actually that's the reason why I'm into longevity. It's like as being 10 years, I visualize myself at 95 years old doing ski with my daughter, with my wife, and so as being 10 years, I'm visualizing
And
that.
your
And that's why
grandchildren,
my grandchildren, exactly. And I have a life book where I put, and I really wrote it down, like my grandchildren. So skiing is really like the thing that I love. But like if I broke, if I had two accidents in ski, will my daughter have accident in ski because I had it?
that is a very good question. So your intention is that you know, your daughter and all your descendants, okay, will benefit from that knowledge and that awareness that you know that they don't have to repeat it. And what you should to see is your children and your grandchildren safe. This is intention. I mean, every day, I this is what I preach, but I also do. Every day I do meditation, I create my connection, I do my appreciation of life, then I set up my intention. Actually, um, 15 years ago, I was channeled 44 intentions. Why 44? I got the explanation. 40 traditionally is the time to shift consciousness, okay?
Okay.
40 days on the mountain, 40 years in the desert. 40 is always the number of change. Four is a number of change, so 44 is twice change. And at that time, I was inspired to do something that I still do every Monday morning, 11 to 1. I do like a boost. I mean, Eastern time, of course. I do like a boost for the week, okay? And it's a little class. And sometimes there is 4 people, sometimes there is 30 people when people can come and but I am here unless I am taken by something else important like a date with destiny or something like that. There's always somebody there that actually a woman that is one of my very long time student and is writing the book of my life because everybody is telling me you should write a book. I said, no, somebody is doing it for me. She's a writer. It's much better because I'm not a writer. I'm a talker. So I was told to do that class and I was given these intentions. And interestingly enough, I send it when people want it. I always send it. But my daughter had the idea to illustrate them. So now, I think she's at number 31. So it's
Okay.
not 44 yet. But every day on Instagram, she does an illustration of one of the intention.
Nice.
But those are intentions that were given to me. They're not necessarily the one that I do every day. Uh, I did a selection and I got some that were all made for me, custom made. But intentions are very powerful. So if you choose every day to put under light, the white light, your family, your daughter, and to see her safe, and to say, etc., etc., you set up your intention. Choose to be inspired and inspirational, and for your connection to be your best companion and to drive your life with the universe as my co-pilot. I mean, I have all this type of intentions to do every day, and I do them under the shower because the water is a good conduit.
And
See,
it's a good reminder also, like every day you take a shower. I
every
mean,
day, exactly.
normally. So I mean, it's a good way to form a
Absolutely.
habit.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful.
yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Michelle. I mean,
You're
it's
welcome.
so powerful. I mean, I
I
feel
I
blessed.
I look at my phone. I mean, we've been talking for an hour and a half.
Yes, yes.
I don't know if people that are going to listen to it are going to listen to the entire thing, but
The people that needs and that are
not
attracted
need
to that,
people that choose.
exactly. The people that choose.
One of my intention is always to say, I choose to be at the right time, at the right place, with the right people, doing the
Yes,
right thing, effortlessly with grace and in harmony with the divine.
that's beautiful. So for those people that decided to stay at that time to watch the full interview, can you tell us your secret of longevity that you learned? Maybe like two secret, two, three. You just said one probably to have positive intention, but I would be curious with your wisdom,
Okay.
what would you like to share for people?
Okay. Love, live in the light, and laugh a lot.
Beautiful. I think it's so important.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. So, how can the people can connect with you if they want to reach out, know more about what you do, or maybe have coaching with you so they can give back and offer that to their community in their own language?
hmm I mean, I'm easy to find. MichelleBlechner.com. My telephone number is 917-701-7511. And, I mean,
Yes.
I believe me, I have a lot of people that wishes me. I am on Facebook, Instagram.
Yes, I will make
Instagram
sure
is
to
for me
put.
because I don't know how to do it, but my daughter, my granddaughter, they put
Yes,
things for me. But
yes.
I'm on Facebook.
Yes, very nice. And is there a network of people that do constellation? I mean, you have your schedule,
Sure, sure. There is actually there is a lot of group, but I belong to a group that is global constellations, which
okay,
is start from Miami because this is really besides Tony community, Miami is my strongest community, but I have connection with so many different people. There's a lot of different organization in different city or whatever. But when they are interested, they can reach out to me, Michelle Blechner Miami at gmail.com. And my daughter is, involved
yes,
also
absolutely.
in managing the thing and everything else. Easy to find.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I really
Thank
truly
you.
appreciate you are a
And
source of
and
love.
one of these days we do something in French.
Absolutely. Whenever you want. So that will be a blessing for me.